And there we are. Hi there. Good evening, everybody. It's a bit of a special we are going to do today. We're going to polish the Balancestaff. Well, the Balancestaff you see here is a model because, let me see, this is the Balancestaff we are actually going to work on. This is a model a friend of mine made, so it's easier to show you guys what we are going to do. Because it is very fiddly, but with some famous drawings, I'll try to show you what we are going to do today. It's quite special. You see the tiniest pivot down there, and on top is just all rust and there is no pivot left there on top. So we have to change that. As a reference, we are looking at the Balancestaff like this, and it's the middle section. This bit down here is the same as this bit down here. So this top pivot has been is broken and is supposed to be there. So that is our challenge for today. This one. I will show you everything about it, but it is very nice tool, and if you can find it, always try to get it. Well, I like to use this one on a stand. It's a bit higher. We've got many models of this. I'll get a few in a moment, so I will show you, but this is just my favorites, but there are many others you can use as well. Here we can see the double roller, which is extremely rusty. Well, here you can see the bottom pivot, the very small tip down there, which is extremely small. Here is the replacement one. And here you can see the two pivots. And now you can see of how many parts the balance wheel consists of. So first what we will do is try to take off the very rusted double roller. What I'm doing now, we are going to tap out the Balancestaff. If I hold it like this, we are going to tap at the top part, and then it will move out the lower bit. So we need a stake. There's over here a tiny hole in it, and if I tap it like this, you see I won't touch the balance wheel, and I just tap out the Balancestaff. I will tap just around there, and then the Balancestaff will leave the balance wheel. First we have to align these holes, otherwise we'll tap it, and when it's not aligned it will break immediately. The stake is perfectly aligned with the hole. So now the balance wheel is supported, and now if we give a gentle tap, and now you can see it's really important, there must be some space in between here, otherwise you just well, damage the balance wheel. That must be it. Where's the hole? There we are. And here's the parts we just removed. That's it. That's the Balancestaff with the double roller, but they were broken anyway, so we can discard them. So here is the Balancestaff, the double roller, this one. So now we are going to put back together the balance wheel. You can imagine the Balancestaff is this one, right? Then we have the yellow line, that's the balance wheel, which you just showed. That rests on the widest bit. This bit here is the table. That's the widest bit of the Balancestaff. This bit here is where the balance wheel rests. This bit here is where the collet is, so where the hairspring is attached. And this is not cylindrical, but is a bit tapered. So this is where the double roller is the press fit just underneath the table. And then the two pivots. This bit is riveted, and I will show you in a drawing in a moment how it's done, because that's really well thought through for over the last 100 years. Hardly anything changed. So that you can see pivot, a tapered bit for the double roller, table, here's the bit where we are going to rivet the balance wheel, here is where the collet is attached, and another pivot. So all sizes are critical, and there are so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different size Balancestaffs. Nothing is standardized in watchmaking. So nothing is, or hardly anything is interchangeable. So all these dimensions individually have to be exactly correct, otherwise it just won't fit. We're going to concentrate first on this bit of the Balancestaff here, where the balance wheel is going to be connected. So where I'm holding the Balancestaff at the moment, that's where we are going to support it during the riveting. And I'll make a famous drawing in a moment. It is kind of small. The pivots are thinner than the hair from a beard. I hope this makes sense. The pivot, obviously, the place for the double roller, that's the table, that's the place for the balance wheel, that's the place for the collet, and the pivot again. And you can see I draw it like this, and that's where the model doesn't have it. There's a small indentation here, and when we are going to rivet in a moment the balance wheel to this place here, those two tips we are going to rivet like this, and that holds the balance wheel together, and then we can tap it again, and then we make it flat, and then it's perfectly riveted. And because we're going to rivet it, this bit of the balance wheel here, and the same here, will expand a bit, so we get a nice tight fit for the balance wheel. And that's why I had to tap it out, just to break this rivet, just a tiny bit. I think this is the correct size hole to use. So now we are going to align the hole, because if it's not exactly aligned, then you'll tap it and it will go like this and it just breaks. Now it's perfectly aligned. Now we have to select the stakes, and this is crucial. First, I select a stake that is just a bit too big. So I will show you in a minute, but then you flatten the balance rim on the staff. Because if it's blocked, well, you know what I mean. So that's the first stake we're going to use. You see, the first one is got a flat tip, and now the second one is rounded. You see the tip? This one is rounded and that one is flat. What we are going to do, the first stake with the flat bit is going over here. So when the balance staff, when the balance wheel will be there, it just goes past here and flatten the balance wheel. So it's nicely connected here. So the first one, it goes over this, the flat one. Then we'll get the rounded tip. We'll go just over here. So it goes just over this bit and it will push this rivet out because it's rounded. Rounded. And then the next one will be the same hole size but straight, and then we just flat the rivet again. Well, now we got the correct hole marked. We've got the 3 stakes and we always check if it's not blocked. First we are going to triple check the pivots on the balance staff, because if they are already bent or not in perfect shape, there's no need to place this balance staff. A quick visual check if these pivots are okay. And then I'm going to push it a bit, so I roll it around and see if the pivots are not going like this. What do you think of the condition of the pivots? I think they're still straight. This is a small edge we're going to rivet. This one here. So the balance rim is here on the table, and this tiny bit here we are going to rivet like this. And again, if you're not too familiar with the dimensions, it is quite small what we're working on. Well, the table is supported. So the flat tip stake, just to flatten the balance rim or the wheel to the balance staff. This is not the actual riveting, but just making it nicely aligned and flat. And you just need the gentlest of taps. You can even hear it. You see it a tiny bit lowering. And now it's perfectly flat with the table. So now it's nice and flat. Now we are going to use the rounded tip just to make the rivet. And now you can see the tiniest air gap. So now it's resting on the two flanges, just there. And it's resting on the flanges and it will push it out because it's a rounded stake. So you need the tiniest air gap between the stake and the balance wheel result. So now the actual riveting, and you'll probably see when I tap it, I twist either the stake or the item I am tapping, because if it's not completely flat, you'll even it out when you twist and turn the stake or the object. Compensate for any irregularities. And the pivot is still there, which is nice. And now you can see there is the part we just riveted and we made it bend like this. And now for the last one, we are going to use the flat tip. And now we are going to flatten the rivet. And now we see no air gap between the table and the balance wheel. And now we have to check if the balance wheel is riveted properly. So a very simple trick. And now I'm holding the Balancestaff, and then we put some Rodico, just put a bit of Rodico on the pivot. And if we move the balance wheel, hey, that pixel, hi there. If we move the balance wheel, the outside, and the Rodico doesn't move, then we know it's too loose. Then the balance wheel will slip over the Balancestaff. But if the Rodico will move, then we have a proper joint between the balance wheel and the Balancestaff. Very simple. Well, there you go. Ah. Now we know we have a proper joint between the Balancestaff and the balance wheel. Very simple test. Well, these two bits are hollow, so the pivots can go in there, and then we can gently. It is a vise. Yeah, it is really small, smaller than the tip of a ballpoint. You see? Ooh, could be worse. It is actually pretty good. As you can see, Arjan, to answer your question. This one is just about the same, you see? The balance wheel goes in between here, just about the same as the one it is in now. But there's a difference, and I love this tool. It's just so nice. Because where the pivot goes in here, it is, you see, there's a spring. So if the pivots are going in there, then you see the most extreme bit if it's wobbly, and if you go to the most extreme, then you can close these and only hold the balance wheel, so there's no stress on the pivots, and then you can use this bit to manipulate and push the wheel in place without stressing the pivots. That is true poise. I really do love this tool. There it is. Well, now I'd like to see how it behaves in the actual movement itself. Well, we do have to clean it up a bit. There's still plenty of work to do on the main plate. And now we're looking at the one now in the middle. That's the ruby for the balance wheel. And it's still in pretty good shape. Because of the rust, the movement couldn't run with that amount of rust. So there's not being an abrasive movement. It was just rusted, and that's it. So the watch didn't run with the rusted bits too long. So the jewels aren't affected. All of you, thank you so much for watching. And we will continue this piece next Tuesday. So we take a bit more time and go into the theory of the watch repair instead of just going through the motions of the assembly. Again, thank you so much.